Hello there everybody and welcome to the next episode of Task Locked Ironman. Last week we were finally able to complete a delivery, which means that our usual weekly reward of 650 points was going to be 900 this time. It's not a huge leap, but every little bit counts considering we are aiming for 100,000. I promised I was going to go for the adept level of tasks once I hit level 100, and I am going to deliver next week, so stay tuned if you want to see that struggle. But this week we're still going to play around with beginner tasks, which was a perfect choice considering our deliveries. But first let's have a good look at the task list. At first glance you can probably already see a lot of orc in there, which is cool because we haven't really seen a lot of orcs before. So it's going to be Orc Spearmen, Orc Riders, Thornback Tortoise, Quaramantas in Scouts, Centipedes, Scarabs, Nomads, and Elf Scouts. Most of those don't offer anything interesting. Scarabs I can use to hunt ancient Scarabs, which I am going to do, but we'll have to look at that later. The really interesting part lies within the delivery tasks. Firstly, we have to deliver 52 halberds. Halberds drop from all sorts of stuff. Actually, we already have a couple in our depot from our previous hunts. We could do Orc Berserkers, we could do Cyclops, we could do Zombies, but there is one creature in particular that I was hoping to be able to hunt sooner or later. And by hunt I really just mean kill once. And that is Black Knight. Black Knight can drop a halberd at a pretty low rate, but most importantly, once we kill the Black Knight, we will be eligible for the reward from the Black Villa quest. A crown shield and a crown armor. Now the crown shield is not going to be an upgrade anymore considering we got very lucky with that vampire shield last week, but the crown armor is going to raise our defenses by 1, which is nothing to scoff at. Being already a little bit over leveled for the Black Knight, it was no surprise that I was able to wipe the floor with him and grab the rewards. The first most important part of this week's list has been checked off. Next up I decided to deal with the Nomads. At first I thought I would find a bunch of them in Ankra-Moon, however it turns out you need to complete some weird quest to be able to go there, so my next best choice was going to be Yalahar. Lucky enough there weren't many people hunting them at the moment, so I was able to clear them out rather easily. Our next target, the Elf Scouts, were just next door in the same quarter of Yalahar. They offer no significant drops and they don't pose much of a threat. The biggest issue was all the other players running around hunting them for whatever goddamn reason. After that I went to Laguna Isles and hunted the Thornback Tortoises. Again, nothing interesting to report. Quaramantas in Scouts I would usually go to kill in Svargrond. However, they can also be found in Liberty Bay, and since I was already there killing those tortoises and whatnot, I decided it's the perfect opportunity to find this new place and give it a spin. It's not as good as Fargrund, but sure enough we were able to kill the scouts with some other quaras. I had no good ideas where to hunt the centipedes, so I decided to go for the first place that came to my mind, the centipedes in the traps set by the dwarves in Tikwanda. To nobody's surprise, I was able to kill these simple creatures in a matter of minutes. Next up, it was time for the Scarabs. You may remember that last week I really wanted to enter the lower levels of the tombs in Ankra-Moon. I ended up not being able to do that because I lacked the necessary Scarab coins that aren't as common of a drop from regular Scarabs. To remedy that, ancient Scarabs happen to drop them a lot more commonly. So it was very beneficial that I was able to hunt some ancient Scarabs who share the spawn with regular Scarabs. Surprise, surprise. I killed a bunch of Scarabs, both of ancient and modern variety, and walked away with a handful of Scarab coins as well as a very sexy looking Scarab shield. Fun fact, when I was a kid it was one of my favorite items. I still remember trying to buy it in Venor Depot when I just went to mainland, but I never got so lucky as to find someone selling one of these. And now it was time for the main event of this week. I still had to kill some Orc Spearmen and Orc Riders for my weekly task list, as well as deliver halberds and Orcish axes. I don't know about you, but to me it sounds exactly like Orc Fortress. The Orcish axes drop from Rorks, from Orc Riders and Orc Warlords. and the halberds of course drop from orc berserkers. If you take a tiny peek at my drop tracker, I wasn't after only those two items. I was still on my quest to complete a obsidian knife, and it just so happened I had a very good shot at obtaining it this week. Firstly, I needed a obsidian lance. Technically, I already should have one of those. I completed the Griffin Shield quest, and the obsidian lance is one of the free rewards from that one. However, I decided not to pick it up back then, because I did not remember that I am going to need it later. Thankfully, both Rorks and Orc Riders dropped the lances, and it didn't take long for me to obtain one. So that's already checked off the list. And the second item is the amazing Dragon Shield. Of course, I don't need it for its defensive properties because, once more, Vampire Shield yay. But I need the Dragon Shield in order to obtain Draconic Steel, that is a component of the Obsidian Knife. And wouldn't you know it, it just so happens that in the deepest part of the Orc Fortress, right next to Orc King's lair, there is a single dragon that might just drop the item for us. Of course, it is by no means a guarantee, because halberds and orcish axes aren't exactly as rare as I would like them to be, so there's a good chance we will obtain all the items we need for the delivery before the Dragon Shield drops, but it is still the best place to hunt these creatures. I also need to complain about the long queues that happened to plague Sakura and other higher pop servers this week. As you probably know, every Christmas Cipsoft organizes a special Christmas event, during which all experience and skill gain is doubled for a couple of days. Since a lot of players are going to be off during that time, it is one of the busiest times of the year for Tibia. And just a few weeks before this event, Cipsoft announced that the maximum population for each server is going to be reduced due to some weird bugs that they were running into. To put things in simple terms, you either had to log in very early in the morning, straight after server save, or wait for 2 to 3 hours in a queue to log in. Not to mention the free accounts who simply could not log in at all. Of course, they were admitted to the queue, but they would never be able to log in while a premium queue exists, and that one was on all week. Despite all these odds, I was able to spend some quality time with the orcs in the Orc Fortress, gain a lot of valuable experience, and finally, as if trying to beat my last week's success, I was able to complete 2 deliveries, offering even more experience than usual, not to mention the extra points. Unfortunately, the Dragon Shield never dropped. Since I had nothing more to do, I decided to go and hunt a little bit, using the bounty task system. Some of you have been asking when I'll buy the Bounty Talisman, the special item that increases your effectiveness as well as loot from creatures that are currently on your bounty, and the answer is right now. Beforehand I was a little bit short on money, but now that I'm basically rich after being able to hunt in the Orc Fortress with basically no supplies, I could afford a little pleasure called the Bounty Talisman for the meager 5,000. The bounties I did included Minotaurs, Orc Warriors, Night Stalkers. This bounty brought me to level 100 by the way, yay. And we also got a tiny upgrade called the Platinum Amulet. Then we killed some Fire Devils, and finally, last thing this week, Amazons. As you can see, we are now level 101. As promised, for the next week's task list I am going to pick the Adept level of tasks. So please subscribe if you want to see me struggle with those. Other than that, we are all done and dusted with our week 5 recap. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.